We finally got more details on the Switch 2, and boy, do I have some thoughts on it. Now, I did not watch this live. I was at work, like I'm sure a lot of you were, and I couldn't just watch the live stream from Nintendo. So for me, my emotional roller coaster might have been a bit different than others because I first found out about the price of the console before I found out about all the other stuff they talked about in the direct. And my initial reaction was a lot of disappointment, if I'm going to be honest. I think it was that way for a lot of people. I really didn't expect Nintendo to go over $400 for this thing, and I was stupidly hoping it was only going to be like 350. But now we know it's confirmed that the system itself cost a whopping 450, and the system bundled with Mario Kart World cost a mind-boggling $500. Even with a packed-in game, it's kind of crazy to see a $500 console from Nintendo. I mean, the Xbox One cost 500 initially, the PS5 and Series X cost 500, though you could get the PS5 without the disc drive for 400, and the Series S was what, 350 when it first came out. So you could get into those systems for cheaper than what the Switch 2 is going to be priced at, which is just crazy to think of Nintendo having a more expensive console than Sony and Xbox in this day and age when they've always been the cheaper, more value oriented option. But the upward trajectory of Nintendo's pricing just makes this feel like an outlier. Now, hopefully it doesn't become an outlier console because I've seen some comments online saying people will buy it no matter what the price is, and I do really need to remind them of the 3DS and Wii U. Sure, the 3DS sold well eventually, but only after it got a $70 price drop like 4 months after launch. And the Wii U never really recovered from its dismal sales. And that might be because it never got that same price drop. So I think people have shown Nintendo recently, I mean, this was 2 consoles ago for the Wii U, that they won't buy a console if it A, doesn't have games that they want to play, and B, maybe costs too much. Because I think the Wii U didn't have games people wanted to play, and the 3DS cost too much. Now, they fixed that by dropping the price of the 3DS, and they just never really got enough games on the Wii U to play. Now, the Switch 2 is coming into a world that's a lot different than it was in 2016. Handhelds were still looked at as underpowered retro emulators, not really full-blown AAA gaming machines. The Switch rewrote that playbook. It came out to massive fanfare. It reignited a passion for Nintendo games when they sorely needed it. It introduced many people to Nintendo's unique games. It certainly did that for me when I bought mine in 2020. I don't usually buy consoles day one. Maybe I will this time. I don't know. The Switch managed to pull third-party developers back into the fold they sort of abandoned around the time the Wii hit its midlife crisis. But now handhelds are everywhere. You still have your small, underpowered emulators, but you also have portable computers capable of playing those same AAA games the Switch is promoting and maybe sometimes playing them better. To be fair, the Switch 2 is coming into a world where Nintendo is vastly different than it was in 2016. They're riding high off the Switch's success. The Mario movie, their Nintendo Land, I think even opened up one in Orlando. They're not exactly hurting for money, and maybe this means they actually used some of that money to put towards the development of this thing. And based on the direct, I think that's what they did. Instead of using older and really outdated hardware, maybe they managed to put more into the APU of this thing and push it just a little bit further than we really thought they would. I'll say that my initial disappointment at the price got me down. I had nearly made up my mind to not buy one, at least not right away. But then I actually watched the direct, and boy, did my spirits pick up, and right away. I will say I'm not the biggest Mario Kart fan. I do have Mario Kart 8 on the Switch. It was a game I bought like initially for it, sure. I didn't really play it that much though. I played it a little bit here and there, played it with my wife, but really didn't start playing it until about a year or two ago when my two daughters got old enough to actually hold a Joy-Con controller. My oldest is now getting a little bit better at Mario Kart, but that's really it's not a big draw for me. I don't play it like I did when I played. I had an N64 with Mario Kart 64, so I played that a lot. by myself because I didn't really have anybody else to play with. That's fine. This wasn't drawing me in upon initially seeing it, but watching the trailer or what they had on the direct, it really did kind of pique my interest. It's kind of cool to see it as an open world concept. It's cool to see different, outfits, different things like that, different power ups that I have no idea what they're doing. I mean, it'll be cool to get more information at the next direct, I guess. But it really did seem like a cool concept. I was worried that it was going to be Mario Kart 9 or whatever they were going to call it, and it was really just going to be the same thing that the previous one was, but with more characters and different tracks. And it was going to kind of just be the same thing, kinda like how Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was basically Mario Kart 8 with a little bit more. I thought this might just be, "Hey, it's kind of the same thing, but a little bit more. We're gonna call it something different and charge you, you know, a lot of money," which they are doing anyway. But I think, this made me feel like, "Okay, this looks a lot more like a new entry into the series and not just a continuation, because we've had like 10 plus years of Mario Kart 8 at this point, and this looks like not a completely new take on it, but definitely a different take than what we had before. I really like the grinding on the rails. I don't know, for some reason that reminded me of Sonic Adventure 2 and how you could do that in that game. I do know I did show my daughters this, like, the trailer for the game, and they were both pretty excited. They're like, "Oh, we have to get that," and I'm like, "Yeah, maybe we will, but, let's calm down at first." They really do seem to take to that and to Mario Party, so, that if they're interested in it, then I guess I kinda will be a little bit interested in it too. And then they finally revealed what the C button that they, for some reason, hid in the first, showcase of it. I have no idea why they hid that. We all knew what it was, or at least we all thought it was like a C button. So I don't know why they had to take that off or whatever. But then they unveiled that it's, their new chat feature, which is great that they have a dedicated on system chat feature now, and you don't have to use your phone and the terrible chat system that I don't think I ever use. I think I mainly used Discord when I did play with people online. So it seems really cool. It seems like a neat concept, to have it, you be able to see their screens and what they're playing. And I thought actually the coolest part was you could be talking to people who weren't playing the same game that you were. That seems like something outside the box for Nintendo to do. Usually they're so closed off and so like narrow minded in the way they set things up. It's like you have to be playing the exact same game in the exact same time zone if you want to get any kind of like connectivity. But this seemed like, a way to just to hang out with friends, play something different, maybe join in on what they're playing if get interested in what they're doing. So I think that could be kind of fun. I don't know about the camera. I don't think I'll buy a camera. I don't think I need someone looking at me, even my friends. So, I don't know what the take rate on that will be. We'll find out. It was telling that they actually, when they showed the footage of other people's game was kind of, laggy. I don't know if it was laggy or if it was just really low FPS, which is a little refreshing that they actually showed that instead of trying to hide that. And then when you get it, you're like, why is this so laggy? So you kind of go into it knowing that it's not going to be the highest quality, but you don't need it to be because you're not watching theirs to really invest in it. It's not like a Twitch stream or something like that. You're just trying to glance at it and say, hey, where are you at in Mario Kart? If you're trying to battle and you're trying to sneak up behind me, then you can, do a little screen cheating like we used to do back in the day. I saw a few people, talking about how the chat feature is going to be free only for an initial period, and then you have to have a Nintendo Switch Online account to actually use it, which I didn't think was that weird because I think, for Xbox Live, I don't know how it is now exactly, but I know initially when it came out on the Xbox, the original Xbox, you kind of needed to have Xbox Live in order to do any kind of voice chat with other people because you're online. I mean, you're having to be online in order to talk to other people. So to me, it just kind of makes sense that they go together. I don't think if you can't play with other people online anyway without having Nintendo Switch Online. So I don't know how many people are out there not playing online with their friends and just chatting. You could just use Discord or, call them on the phone. Pretty old school, but that's what I would do. I wouldn't do that actually. I don't like to talk to people on the phone. I did like the concept that they have where you can kind of have a game on the Switch 2 and share it with others locally, so you can still have your Switch Lite, your Switch OLED, whatever you have, or maybe your kids have that, and you don't need to go buy them a Switch 2 necessarily to play certain games. You can just kind of share it and play multiplayer that way. I think that's a fantastic idea. I mean, I don't know how much that taxes the system and how hard that's going to be on the system to do that, but that concept is really cool to be able to share your game locally with your friends without everyone needing to have a copy of the game and without everyone needing to have a brand new Switch 2. So that's kind of cool. I also like the idea that they have of being able to share your games, your like digital games. That's kind of unique. I think Nintendo is definitely hinting at their future plans of moving away from physical media. I think their cards are expensive, which we might have to get into a little bit later when it comes to the price of all this stuff. But they still use the game cards. Those are more expensive than disc-based media to make games, especially for the 64 gigabyte or maybe even bigger now for the Switch 2. I think they would love to move away from that physical media, and this might be kind of like their stepping stone to get there and say, hey, look, yeah, we're getting rid of physical media that you can't share, but we are still allowing you to share the game with your friends, which I don't know. That's a cool concept. Not something Xbox would ever want to do, I don't think, but then again, Xbox just wants you to sign up for their Game Pass anyway. They don't want you to own shit. And then we got a little bit more information. I mean, we knew they were magnetically connected. That wasn't like too big of a surprise, even from the reveal trailer. It's great that it has more storage space. Though not 500 gigabytes, definitely not gonna be a terabyte, but 256, good, much larger than the original. But people say, oh, it's 256 versus 32. But remember, the OLED did come with 64, so it's only 4 times bigger than what the OLED comes with. So don't try and show us that it's much better. Speaking of which, the screen. I really wish it was an OLED screen, but I see what they did. Obviously, if they came out with an OLED screen, it would be even more expensive, 50, maybe $75 more than what it is now, because that's just how much OLED screens cost. They do claim that the LCD screen's better than the original, so it'll be really fun to do a test of the original Switch, the OLED Switch, and the new Switch 2 screen just to see how much more vibrant it is, how well it looks. I don't doubt that it's going to look well. I thought the original Switch screen looked pretty good. Obviously, it's not as vibrant as the OLED, but that doesn't mean it's a bad screen. And this one does promise to be better. It's clearer. That's great. I mean, 1080p is going to be fantastic. And 120 hertz. I mean, I mostly play in handheld mode, so that's what I'm most interested in is how vibrant the screen is. That's why I like the OLED so much. But having a 1080p screen's gonna help a lot, and having that 120 hertz that's got variable refresh rate is gonna really help with some of the games. And that's one thing I'm looking forward to is just seeing how it looks compared to how the original Switch games like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, how they look and how they run on this, which yeah, should be a little bit crisper, I would imagine, even the ones that aren't getting the enhancements, which yeah, that's for a few more minutes from now. But they did show the dock. The dock this time actually does do something besides just connect it to the TV. I remember everyone talking about the Switch dock when it came out and said, "Oh, well, maybe it upscales. Maybe it has some power in there to allow it to do something." And no, really, all it does is just give it a little bit more power than what it can draw from the battery, so that it can output up to 1080p resolution to your TV. This time, it looks like it does more than that. I think it actually is having some processing done maybe on the dock. Maybe it's using that to upscale, or maybe the fan's just getting the Switch 2 to run at a much higher clock rate when docked than the Switch 1 did. And then it needs that fan in circulation to kind of keep it cool, because that is going to get it overheating. But it does look like a much more robust dock than what the original came out with. I mean, the back end has a lot going on there, so that'll be fun. I'm sure someone will tear that apart one day and see what's inside. And now when it docked, it does allow you to output in 4K and HDR, which is pretty cool. A lot of people were clamoring for that. Not going to be really effective for me because I still have a TV from 2012 that only does 1080p, but I'm not updating that anytime soon. Then they got to the compatibility, and it does seem like there's a few games that have compatibility issues that I imagine they're going to work on if there are games that just have some kind of compatibility issue with Switch 2 that aren't very popular, then they might not ever get an update patch because it's not running doesn't seem like it's really running natively or it's got something going on. It's not emulating the games from a Switch 1, but it's got something going on where it's not able to just one for one play the game without some glitches. So whether that requires a Nintendo or the developer to go in and tweak something for the Switch 2, and whether or not they do that is kind of up in the air at this point. Obviously, they are gonna have games that are enhanced for the Switch, and so you're gonna end up having the Switch 2 only games, then, you know, Switch 1 compatible games that can be played on the Switch 2. Hopefully, those that aren't enhanced get some kind of, just natural boost from the Switch 2's processing power. And the same for Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. If you don't get the enhanced versions of those games, will the original game still play just a little bit better? Noticeable? I don't know. We'll have to find out. So then you have your Switch 2 edition, which I guess are the kind of the enhanced games. But I don't find it to be that big of a deal because it does look like they're taking those games and adding additional content to them. It's not just that they get better performance. They will get that, but they're also going to have more content in the game, which I think adds that value you're looking for if you're going to pay. If it's not much, if it's like $10, $15 to get that, assuming you already have the original game, I'm okay with that. I mean, I think that's kind of how PlayStation did it. You could, if you had the PlayStation 4 version of God of War, you could pay a little bit to get the PlayStation 5 version, or you can just outright buy the PlayStation 5 version if you don't have it. And, if the games are going to be $70, hopefully, that's it, for the Switch 2 version, and $60 for the Switch 1 version, then it really should just be that $10 difference if you want to upgrade your old game. I'm curious how many of those games they'll do that with, because at some point they're probably not gonna want to add back to that catalog. Only the really popular games. It's not gonna be, Mario Kart 8, but Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, I mean, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Party. Do they do something else that's been really like Animal Crossing, maybe an enhancement for Animal Crossing? I could see that happening to get people to buy the Switch 2. So hey, yeah, Animal Crossing, we're gonna add a bunch of extra cool stuff to it. Not really a taxing games. I mean, how much more fidelity do you need? But yeah, I don't know. Like, do they have plans for Mario Odyssey in the future, or are they just gonna come out with a new Mario game and say, "Yeah, we'll leave all that behind"? I don't know. It depends on what they have in the works, I guess. If they don't have anything in the works, then I could see them doing that. But oh, and then they showed off Metroid Prime 4, which looks really good. I mean, that actually looks like a great game that's using the hardware specs of the game. And I mean that looked crisp, clear, looked like fun. They use that to kind of show, the mouse controls, which I'm not that sure. It seems weird. I don't know how that works on your leg or if you're on the couch, but on a desk, I get it. I just don't know if that's like I mean, it does kind of work. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, it does not feel that terrible to just like slide this around. It's not the most comfortable. Maybe they'll have some kind of aftermarket grip. You can just put your Joy-Con in and then it acts like an actual. I mean, there are two buttons here, so I mean, you really could just like, yeah. Um, that might actually work out fine. Someone will come up with something. Someone will slap something on there that treats it like a mouse and makes it a little bit bigger and more comfortable. So I don't know. That could be something. They might be onto something there. And then, using it too. I don't know, but I can see using this as like you're moving. You This is how you move. This is the keyboard, and then this is your mouse. So you're boom 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 boom. That I'll probably try it out. I'll probably try it out. It'll be better than the Wii remote as like a gun. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that it'll be better than having the Wii remote light gun thing that you're trying to like. And that was never very very good. All of that stuff really started to get me, you know, back vested into the console like launch. Like I was really down when the price came out. When I saw that before watching the direct, but then I really think that they managed to deliver on a lot of not what they promised, but a lot of what the speculation and the rumors suggested. I mean, more powerful processor, the screen. I wasn't expecting a 120 hertz screen. That's actually pretty fantastic. I like I said, I play handheld most of the time, so that's going to really benefit someone like me. 4K on your TV, if you're someone who plays mostly docked, that's great for you. 4K on your TV. I mean, having a performance mode and a quality mode, not something I would again, not something I would think I would see on a Nintendo console. They don't usually care about that kind of stuff, but they're actually, I think, listening to what gamers are saying and what they want and what other companies are delivering and seeing how that's working and saying we can implement that ourselves. I mean, they're kind of like the Apple of, the gaming market. They'll do things 5 years later and they'll do it in their own little way. And then they'll try and sell it to you for a lot more as if like this is the best way to do it. And anyone who did it that way before differently is just a dummy. And as an Apple user, I fully understand that they do things way later. It's like, that's kind of the way they are. Oh, you can talk to your friends this way. You want to talk to them a different way? Crap. No one wants to talk to their friends that way. You want to talk to them this way with the camera on your face, staring you dead in the eyes while you get knocked out of the ring. All that to be said that like once I got through this direct and saw the games they had, the third-party support, I mean, they really had a lot of third-party support lined up to showcase what they're working on because the developers, they got, when the Switch 1 came out, they weren't really prepared for it. Some of them were, you had Skyrim and whatnot, but most of them were asleep at the wheel because they were like, this, we don't know about this. How are we going to develop for this? It turned out to be a pretty easy machine to port over to, I assume. Not that I can port anything over to the Switch, but the way they were able to do it with the high quality games that you got on the Switch, but you're getting a lot of like third party support. You're getting some big name titles and some new titles. You're getting like Hogwarts and you're getting Cyberpunk coming out, a new James Bond game, which, I don't, it not doesn't look like GoldenEye, but that will be so sick if you get something akin to like a GoldenEye that just ends up having this like amazing gameplay. That would be pretty awesome. And I mean, would it show off support? If it's a first person shooter, is it going to use the Joy-Con mouse function the best? And it could. That would be freaking awesome. And then something that I think people were clamoring for on the Switch 1 and GameCube support finally coming to the Nintendo Switch Online. Looks like a decent lineup of games. I mean, if they put Smash on here, that would be kind of crazy. That would be interesting. Like, would Smash Melee, it wouldn't do better. It wouldn't have more playtime than Smash Ultimate, but that'd be kind of fun to have Smash Melee on there. That would be, and then kind of makes me want to get the GameCube controller because I always just loved having the old school controller. It plays the games better because that's what the games were designed to play with. It just, I don't know. That C6 sucks, but it's better than 4 buttons. And then also like Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to the Switch, which is pretty sick because that's the game I really want to play. I'm still in the middle of trying to play the original Final Fantasy VII and getting through that. And then I wanted to play the remakes, but I don't have a PS5 that works. I have some that don't work because I can't fix them, but I don't have one that works. So I can't play Final Fantasy VII Remake yet. And I could play PS4 version of the first game, but I kind of want to play, the more enhanced versions, which this looks like it is. Hopefully it doesn't take them too long to come out with the other, the third game's not out yet, but hopefully part 2 will come out pretty soon and not like 2 or 3 years from now when you get part 3 on the PS5 or PS6. You're also getting Elden Ring. That's right, Elden Ring. So that'd be kind of cool. I've never played Elden Ring either because I don't have a newer generation that works. So maybe that'll be a way to get me to, play it. I did play Dark Souls on the Switch, the remaster or remake, and that was a lot of fun. So this will be kind of cool to be able to play that on the Switch as well. That it's just kind of like this is like a spiritual type of game that like has similar gameplay. That it did interest me a lot. I just never had the opportunity to play it. So maybe now I will. Maybe now I'll just buy it and not play it like I do so many of my games. And then the last thing that they showed that I really was kind of like taken to was the Donkey Kong game. I didn't know what it was going to be, but it looks interesting. I'm actually probably one of those weird people who liked Donkey Kong 64. It's probably because I used a guide to help me get through it. From what I've seen, people were like, it's just a terribly designed game. It's hard to figure out what to do and where to go and all that stuff. But I had the like Primo whatever guide. So I used that to get through it when I was younger. And I actually enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a great game. It was a lot of fun. And it was kind of weird. The final boss fight was kind of just like a boxing match, which was whatever. But to me, it was a great, 3D Donkey Kong game, and I was kind of disappointed that they never really made another one again. This game looks though interesting, like kind of like they need to give Donkey Kong something better. Like they give him a 3D game where he can do something like this, smash things up, ground pound, do all the stuff he does in Smash, and like make it a fun game. I mean, it looks kind of Odyssey-ish. It looks like a 3D world. type of game. So I'm interested in it. It'll probably be one of the games I pick up. Is it gonna be a system seller? I don't know. Is Mario Kart World gonna be a system seller? I don't know. That's gonna be hard to tell. I'm not good at predictions like that, so I'm not even gonna try this time. Maybe in the future I'll get better at it, but I don't know if that any of these are gonna be system sellers. People are gonna buy the Switch, I think. They're gonna love to play their old games with better clarity, better fidelity. They're gonna like to play the new stuff. You know, people are gonna buy it when Pokemon games come out. Maybe not necessarily for ZNA because it'll be similar enough, but when the next generation Pokemon game comes out, like next year, as if it's on stays on schedule, people are gonna pick up a Switch too. If that's the only way to play it. Yeah, and Nintendo kind of knows that, and that might have been part of their pricing strategy is to be like, hey, look, you Pokemon fanatics we're gonna sell 10 million copies of these games, 14 million copies of these games. You're gonna buy one. Ah, so am I. Ugh. But yeah, so I think that was pretty much everything they covered in the direct. Yeah, I really liked a lot what I saw. Again, I was really down on the price came out, and I was like, this isn't great. This is very disappointing. This is very sad because I was like, I'm gonna buy this day one. First time I would buy a console day one in forever. I think the closest one I ever bought was the Wii. The last time I bought a console even close to launch. So if I buy this anytime this year, it's going to be close to launch. Kind of depends on how this channel does or how my other channel is. I mean, I'll probably buy it and do an unboxing and also take it apart because that's what my other channel's about. It's about fixing consoles. So I'll be wanting to try and take it apart just to see what the insides look like. And hopefully I can put it back together without breaking it because I don't have, I don't make thousands of dollars from videos. Um, so if I break a $500 console, I'm going to be screwed out of $500. But it's probably something I'll do. I haven't quite decided yet. Yeah, but let me know down in the comments what you're gonna do. Are you gonna buy it day one? Are you gonna wait a little bit to see how it goes? You're gonna watch a lot of YouTube videos on people who unbox it and then be like, "Oh, I should have bought one, so I'm gonna go do it now." That might be me. Or are you like, "Yeah, this is just I'm completely out because of the price." Let me know down in the comments below, and we'll catch you in the next one.